Hello, welcome. In the last video we talked about playing chords on the giant step sequence using drop 2 voicings and some more basic root position things. And now we're going to move from talking about chords as blocks of sound to chords as arpeggios. So these things are all inextricably linked to being able to improvise effectively on a chord sequence. So it's to try and tie together the knowledge of playing the notes of a chord as a chord and playing the notes of a chord as an arpeggio, whether it's or. And as I mentioned in the earlier video, talking very briefly about major scales as well, that you can play through the sequence thinking of scale tones when you're practicing playing the sequence, but you can also play just thinking about chord tones and just moving from chord tone to chord tone. Again, I would suggest doing this in a limited space on the instrument. So if you're thinking about your different arpeggios, think about them in an area to start with. First of all, get really familiar with them. So if I was going to play B major 7th, I would. If I was going to play the next arpeggio for the next chord, which is D 7th, I would get to grips with that, and then G major 7th, that kind of thing, and then B flat 7th could be here, and then I've also got E flat major 7th here. So I'll just find all the arpeggios in an area on the guitar, and you'll see those on a PDF. And again, I'm not trying to think about the whole instrument. I'm not trying to think about much more than one octave. I'm just trying to simplify it down to kind of definable chunks. And once I get this chunk of information together, I can either open it up in terms of register, or I can move position and go through the whole process again. It's quite a complex thing being able to process all this information on the guitar, not only in terms of physically, but also so that you're actually hearing what things are going to sound like, before you play them. So I'll just play through the sequence again, just playing only chord tones and in minim. So as I move from chord to chord, I'm only going to be playing a note from the arpeggio, and I'm going to be treating the chords as basic 7th chords. So let's have some of that. As you saw there, I was kind of started off with the exercise, but then kind of veered into actually playing phrases, and that's quite a nice thing to do, is to actually start something as an exercise, but then let your kind of intuitive improvisation skills kind of take over, so that you actually start to use the material in less of a dry way and thinking more as music. So if I carry on that in that regard. just kind of started gradually expanding out to playing more of the arpeggios and incorporating them into musical phrases. And that's something that will probably take a little while to get used to, but again, it's all these things are processes, so you're going to make the odd little slip, there's going to be the odd wrong note, but it's about refining things all the time so that you're making more connection with the chords. Something else you can do to help your connection with the chords is actually play the chords every now and again in the sequence, so that you're really connecting, really having to think not only about what the chords are, but where to play them. So to pull together the idea of improvising in a single note way and with comping chords, so keeping them as a more integrated thing. Some of the great players like Joe Pass were fantastic at having everything under their fingers at one point, whether it was a chord or an arpeggio or a scale or a bass line even. All that would be going on all the time when he was playing, or at least it seemed to be. And that's something that you can also put into your practice, so we can pull together the elements that we've talked about so far. So we have, just looking at the first chord, a B major scale. We have the chord, which is a drop 2 voicing, and then we have an arpeggio. So you can practice all those things as a kind of continuum. So you can play chord, arpeggio, and then scale, so that you know in that area, just to start with, as you're building up a picture of the tune on the fingerboard, you know that you've got all those things available. And then do the same with the next chord. So you have chord, arpeggio, and scale, and so on. So it's good to check in with the chords. You can do this on a very systematic level. You can say, I'm going to play the chord every 2 bars, or you can just be a little bit looser about it and just play them when you feel like it. It's good to do both. It's good to be disciplined in your practice and practice things that are like exercises, but it's also good to kind of free up and just be spontaneous, and just, if you feel like playing a chord, play a chord. So I'll do a little bit of that, just kind of playing some chords, some arpeggios and some scales, and just see where we get to. So you see, that's quite a nice thing to be able to do, especially in a situation like this where I've only got bass and drums as a backing. I can fill in the harmony. I can play bits of the chord or all of the chord, that kind of thing. And so it gives you a lot more stuff to do, but it also really helps develop your knowledge of the instrument. Okay, so what you can do is you can take just a one chord change, like going from B major 7th to D 7th, and just work on that one change, just in the process of getting the arpeggio, chord shape and scale together in that region of the guitar, and just improvise on that as if you're not playing with a band, you're just playing unlimited length on each chord. And you can gradually pull those things together so that when you're playing in time, you've got the information at your fingers a little bit more quickly. So if I just played the chord as a starting point, I can then play the arpeggio, and I can also draw on some notes from the scale. And I could just sit and play on that and find some sounds that I like, some patterns that I like, and then after a while move on to the D7th chord, which is very close by, again with that one common note of the F sharp, and I've got the chord here that I can play, I've got the arpeggio, and I've got the scale. And I could just play between those two chords. I would play the chords, play the arpeggios, or play the scales, and just kind of sit and figure out how I can take an idea from one chord to the other. So obviously with this tune like Giant Steps, there are quite a few chord changes, quite a lot of places you can play them, so some food for thought until next time. Thank you.